welcome to an Everyday Canines video. This is the Weave Game series, and in this episode we're looking into Threadles or pull-ins into the weaves. So this is a quite specific game. There's only one version of this you're going to do because you don't do different sides. All the other games we do either side. But there's only one way you're going to be doing a Threadle. So let me show you what I mean. A Threadle is when I want my dog to come from front of me and pull round to the opposite side of an object. You may see it on jumps or tunnels, but every now and again you might have to do it on a weave pulse. So I had a course last year where the dog came from the tunnel here. I was here and I needed my dog to find the weave entry. The only way I could do it, and I didn't at that time have the skill, would have been to Threadle into it to ask the dog to come round. I couldn't get ahead of my dog to blind, to push, but even if I could, I would have been blocking their line of sight completely. So when you're thinking of Threadles, it's a means of getting your dog to the correct side of the weaves when you are stuck on the left hand side and your dog is on this side of you, so they aren't on the obvious side of you. So let me show you what that would look like. So imagine you're coming from here. Come, pulse, pulse, pulse. Good girl, get it. As I say, it's not a move you would use all the time. Most of the time, if you had to do something like this, you would attempt to get on the correct side so you could drive your dog in. Because when you're driving your dog into the weave path, it's faster, it's better for the dog. But sometimes these situations emerge, you think, oh, I'm never going to get there. The only way I can do it is if I do it, come, pulse, pulse, pulse. Now, my dogs have a very good Threadle cue, full stop. This helps. I'll be honest with you, this is the very first time she has done Threadles into the weaves. But because she understands my pull-in arm, and because she understands her Threadle cue, which is calm in this situation, it causes her no difficulty because she understands she can connect the two. So you might need to go away and work on your Threadle pulling cue. If you've already got a Threadle pulling cue, this is a game you can play quite readily, but you may need to teach your dog how to do it. You could technically teach your dog to do it even if you haven't got a Threadle cue. Let me show you how you would do it. So I'd bring the jump very close. My dog knows how to weave. I'm going to ask my dog to wrap, and then I'd pull my hand. Good girl, you missed an entry though. Can you sit for a second? Swift, 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 sit. I would pull my hand and guide them in. If you haven't got this as a pull-in cue, this could be specific for your weaves if you don't do pull-ins normally. So I'm going to guide them with my hand, and then as soon as they get the entry, I'm going to reward. Okay. Wrap, 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 wrap. Come, yes, good girl. And I'm throwing my reward in there at the entry because that's what I want to reward. I'm not going to do that a lot because I don't want them to learn to pop out. But when I'm starting off, I want my dog to understand that they've done correctly. Rap, 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 rap. Come, pulse, pulse. I shouldn't have thrown like that, by the way. She shouldn't have done that. But because I'd already rewarded an entry once, she pulled out. So this time I shall make sure she completes the whole thing. Rap, rap, rap. Come here, my maid. Rap, 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 rap. Come, pulse, pulse, pulse. Nice, get it. So once she's doing this successfully, you can pull it out. As I say, you would never do this from this side because if you were attempting to get your dog into the poles this side, it wouldn't be a Threadle because they're not going to the back. If you were doing it this side, it would be a scoop or a rear cross or just guiding them in with your arm. But you wouldn't be doing a Threadle because that isn't what that is. Oh. Okay. There are two more ways you can make this game harder. You can do it as a Threadle rear or just a Threadle. So if I do this as a Threadle and I come down this side, it's just a normal Threadle because I've gone with my dog. Okay, ready, rap, 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 come, pulse, 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 good girl. Good girl. If I stay on this side, it's effectively a Threadle rear because I'm rear crossing my dog. It's a bit of a grey area because it's not a complete move, but technically my dog is coming past me and I'm staying on that line, not going with them, so it is technically a Threadle rear. Come, pulse, pulse, pulse. So you can see you can play it both ways. You can see if your dog can understand it when you're going both sides or whether they're using your body to pull them in. I'm going to show you one more way if you can do this. Now, this is the way I would only do this way if I'm doing a normal Threadle. By doing a Threadle rear, I would always use this arm because it helps them to understand that motion, that cross. But if I was doing this and I wanted to come on to the far side of the weaves, there's one way I can do it, and I shall show you how you can do that. Okay, rap, 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 come, pulse, pulse, good girl. So do you see, in that one, I relied on her verbal as much as anything to understand that when I said come, and I've got my arm out, you need to come round this side and find the weave pulse. So that is one other way you could teach that, and I have to say, in terms of speed, that is the faster way of doing that. But you would only do it if you were coming on the far side of the weaves. I hope that makes sense. It is one of those moves you will not necessarily see a lot. It's probably a move you're going to find more if you're a distance handler, or like me, you can't keep up with your dog. But it's not something I think I probably saw it once last year. However, when you're in that situation, you're in a competition and you have it and you think, oh, I don't know how to do it. That's dreadful. You know, you don't want to be in that situation. So if you can say, hey, I can do that, I know how to do that, well, there you are. It's a game you've played. It's another way of boosting your confidence and your dog's confidence. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, you might like to subscribe to the YouTube channel and find us on Instagram at Everyday Canines and on Facebook. And I hope you'll join us again very, very soon.